Well, this one's tough today. One of the most precious parts of life is having a baby. Bringing an innocent, pure life into the world is supposed to be something joyous, something special for couples wanting to either start a family or to add on to their family. Every once in a while though, innocence is born and things go tragically, horrifically wrong. They go the opposite direction. Today I am in the absolutely beautiful town of Covington, Georgia. This is the Covington courthouse there. Covington is home to where they filmed some awesome TV shows like The Dukes of Hazzard. It was filmed here. Vampire Diaries is another show that they filmed here. If you're a fan of Vampire Diaries, Mr. Grill is sitting right there behind me. I have been here before, and I do intend on coming back. Just this place is great. Covington is a very beautiful town, but I'm not here to talk about those things today. Today I'm in Covington, and I'm going to be telling the story of two-week-old Kaliyah McNabb at 15 days old. She barely had a chance to breathe out here in the world before she was taken away from it. A little forewarning here for this video. As I was preparing to make this and I was reviewing some of the evidence from this case, from the story, and the details, it brought me to tears. I don't understand how anyone could do this to a child, especially something so innocent as a 2-week-old newborn. It's beside me. I don't get it. So be prepared to shed a few tears while we talk about what happened to her. Like I said before the intro, Covington is absolutely gorgeous. The Mr. Grill here. This is the courthouse. Obviously, some infamous scenes from The Dukes of Hazzard was filmed there. This is also the courthouse from In the Heat of the Night, that old TV show. There's been many other shows and movies filmed here in Covington as well that I'm not going to get into today. That's not what this story is about. Although those type stories might be more upbeat and less sad, I want to tell the story and make sure everyone knows what happened. September the 23rd of 2017, sweet and innocent little Kaliyah McNabb was born into the world. 15 days later, she was reported missing by her parents. Her father, Christopher McNabb, and her mother, Courtney Bell.
They took pure innocence and brought that child into their life of hell. He's impulsive. He doesn't think before he acts. He punches. He slams his fist against that table. He loses it on the phone. He screams. He throws things out the window. So he literally could have thought in 2 seconds, he could have gone back there, picked up the baby and thought, well, maybe I'll feed her and she'll shut up. And then when he put that bottle in her mouth and she wouldn't shut up, he just, no. Whatever he did, however he killed that child, that's malice murder. What a coward. Beats up on women and beats up on babies. Then has the nerve to go get a tattoo of the baby on his face to impress you all. Her child, Kaliyah, needed a mother who could hear her cries. That's what she deserved, that's what she needed. And she needed a mother who could protect her from the volatility of this man. She chose to bring this child into this environment.
They lived together right here in this trailer park. In fact, they actually lived in this trailer right here. They lived there with their other child, a 2-year-old toddler named Clarissa. Chris McNabb and Courtney Bell were also cousins. Courtney's mother was Chris's aunt before they started procreating.
Please state your name.
Pamela Hamby,
Ms. Hamby, how old are you?
47.
And do you have any children?
Yes.
How many?
7.
Is Courtney Bell one of them?
Yes.
Are you related to Chris McNabb?
Yes.
How are you related to him?
I'm his aunt.
So is his brother Michael, or is his father Michael McNabb your brother?
Yes.
Chris and Courtney's relationship was very, very toxic. In fact, at the trial, family members took the stand and even said that in the weeks prior to Kaliyah's birth, Chris was abusing Courtney, and then it even escalated after Kaliyah was born in the 2 weeks afterwards.
This day that Mrs. Zahn focused on, did she have any bruising visible that day?
Which one? Oh,
Courtney.
Yes, she always had bruises on her.
Did you see a black eye on her face on the day that Tim Bell came to the house to pick up the babies?
Yes, ma'am.
On Courtney Bell's face?
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of the toxicity in their relationship stemmed from their frequent drug use. They were very heavy methamphetamine users. They smoked meth on a regular basis, all of the time, even while she was pregnant with Kaliyah. I'm not sure about Clarissa, but I know while she was pregnant with Kaliyah. So as a result of the meth they were smoking, they stayed up for days at a time, awake without sleeping for several days at a time, and they fought. Christopher McNabb and Courtney Bell, they were new parents. They brought Kaliyah home from the hospital, and they did the typical new parent thing right away. They had family come over, they posted pictures all over Facebook. From the outside looking in, everything appeared to be normal. Appeared is the key word there. The truth of the matter is in baby Kaliyah's very, very short life, she spent most of her time with other family members besides her parents. In a time where normal parents would be happy to be home from the hospital so that they could start settling into a routine, Christopher and Courtney, they wanted to go find some meth. I mean, that was all they thought about. That was all that they had on their minds in Kaliyah's very, very short 2 weeks alive. She spent more time away from them than she actually did with them. She was born on September the 23rd of 2017, and then they were both in the hospital on the 24th. Courtney was allowed to leave on the 25th, but Kaliyah had to stay. Kaliyah stayed in the hospital on the 26th, and then they released her late on the 27th. Now, Kaliyah was with Chris and Courtney on September 28th, 29th, and the 30th. But October 1st, they woke up and they immediately took the kids over and dropped both kids off with Courtney's cousin, Megan Sorrells. Megan had the kids but from October 1st through October 3rd. That's 3 whole days. And we're talking about a newborn. She had man. Megan gets frustrated. She has not only her 4 kids, but Clarissa and Kaliyah, who again is a newborn, and as you probably all know, newborns require a lot of attention. So she calls up her mom and vents. Her mom calls Tim Bell, and we'll come back and get into that in a minute. Either way, Tim Bell has them from the 3rd to the 6th, and then Courtney and Chris pick them up late on October the 6th, and they get up the very next morning and report her missing. Doing the math there, that means Kaliyah spent 5 days in the hospital. She spent 3 days with Megan Sorrells. She spent 3 days with Tim Bell, and then she only spent 3 days with her own mother and father, plus the day she was reported missing, is mind-boggling to me. Out of 15 days, 12 of them were spent somewhere else. Now back to Tim Bell getting Clarissa and Kaliyah. As I said, Megan, she was frustrated, so she called her mom to vent. Well, that led her mom to call Courtney's dad, her brother, Tim Bell. And she called to ask him what was going on. He was furious. He started yelling and screaming, why haven't they seen their kids in days? Where have they been? What's wrong with them? You know, those normal questions a parent would say in that situation. Tim immediately gets in his car and he goes over to Megan's, where Chris and Courtney's children are. He takes Courtney's children with him to give Megan a break. A whole nother day passes. Courtney sends a text asking about the newborn. She informed Courtney that Tim came and picked up Kaliyah. It ticks Courtney off. Now, I think any normal parent could understand that. As a parent myself, I would be mad if someone had come and gotten my kids and took them and I didn't know about it. But Courtney was not a normal parent. 9 times out of 10, someone else had her children and she didn't. For whatever reason, it made Courtney mad. Courtney and Chris then go to Megan's. Tim meets them over there. They also call the sheriff's department and have the sheriff's department meet him over there. Tim is so mad that he threatens to take the kids away from Chris and Courtney. He tells Courtney that they're neglecting those children, that those are her kids, no one else's. How do you just take your newborn baby and drop them off for 3 days? He threatens to take them away because of the rampant drug use. Basically, Tim Bell's, not only is he trying to straighten out his daughter, but he's trying to protect his grandchildren at the same time. The sheriff comes. Tim explains what has been going on. They all start talking. Ultimately, Courtney agrees to let Tim Bell have the children in exchange for one of his extra cars. Essentially, he could take the kids home with him if he gave her a car that she could drive around in. It was a PT Cruiser. And of course he agreed. You know, he's their grandparent, he wants them to be safe, so he agreed. It only lasted a few days though. Tim had them from October 3rd to October the 6th. Chris and Courtney eventually wind up having to get their own children. Chris and Courtney, they pick up Clarissa and Kaliyah and they come back to the trailer. When they arrive back to the trailer with the kids, they are met there by Courtney's cousin, Craig. Now, Courtney had called Craig and asked him to bring the meth over, which he did. So they put the kids in the back room of the trailer and they sat in the living room and got high. After about 15 minutes, Craig left. Chris and Courtney make Clarissa go to bed. They feed, change, and lay Kaliyah down in Clarissa's room, and then they head to the living room couch to have sex while they're still high. So some time passes that night, just a couple of hours. Courtney is able to actually fall asleep, and while she was sleeping, the unimaginable would happen.
Eaton County 911, stress the emergency.
I just woke up. My dog woke me up on the couch. I have a 2-year-old and I have a 2-week-old. And my 2-week-old is not in her sleeper. Her passie's on the floor.
She's not in her sleeper?
She's not in her sleeper. She's not here. I've looked everywhere. I've looked under clothes and everything.
Courtney woke up the next morning. Chris is in the bed beside her. He's awake. The 2-year-old, Clarissa, walks into the living room and asks, "Mommy, where's the baby?" She goes to get Kaliyah, and she's nowhere to be found. Now, their trailer is a mess. There are piles of clothes and there's piles of trash all over the place, all over the trailer. Courtney starts frantically plundering through all of it, trying to find Kaliyah. She immediately calls her mom and says, "I can't find Kaliyah. I don't know where she's at." Her mom starts screaming at her on the phone, "What the F are you doing? Call 911, call 911." Then she got into the car and frantically drove over to the trailer here. By the time she gets here, deputy sheriffs have just arrived at the house, and they're searching through the piles of junk all around the house. But notably, when they get to the house, Christopher McNabb is nowhere to be found. The deputies ask, "Where's Chris at?" And Courtney proceeds to tell them that he went back behind the trailer park, back here in the woods, to search for the baby. The deputies immediately look at each other, and they immediately, they think something suspicious with that. They ask, why would she be back in the woods? I mean, she's 2 weeks old. She can't walk. How would she get out there? Which, in my opinion, those are legitimate questions, if someone were to give that excuse. And then all of a sudden, Chris appears out of the wood lines saying that he couldn't find anything.
First thing that I heard this morning when she called her papa and told her papa about it, where's that boy at? Where's that boy at? I'm always the first one to get blamed for everything. That's my kid. That's my child. You know what I'm saying? Well, the child I'm more worried about that baby than everybody except her.
It's almost immediately at that point that the sheriffs on scene take Chris and Courtney down to the sheriff's department to get their first initial statements. At the same time, everyone who was here at the trailer park, they started looking for Kaliyah. While Chris and Courtney were still at the sheriff's department, news stations started showing up, and news stations started reporting on it. Very quickly, it became national headlines. A 2-week-old baby is missing. Chris and Courtney wrap up their interviews at the police station, and then they are brought back to the trailer here. It's actually on an interview on one of the news reports. As soon as they pull up, Chris gets out, walks right up to the camera, and starts yelling at the camera.
Hey man, I don't know who got my kid, man, but I want my kid back, man. That's my child, man. I want my kid, man.
Both Chris and Courtney are known to the local police department because of all the drug interactions. It was all like drugs and theft and that kind of stuff. They immediately zeroed in on Christopher McNabb.
He had made a couple initial statements, and then he indicated to investigators that he did not wish to talk anymore.
Now, they didn't say what he said, but the police said that in that initial interview, Chris made some incriminating statements, then called himself and said he didn't want to talk anymore. That's what he told them. They obviously didn't have enough evidence to hold anyone, so Christopher McNabb and Courtney Bell are let go. They are driven back to the trailer park by police officers. They never did really join in with the search parties that first day. They hung out around the trailer for a while before eventually leaving with their cousin, Craig, the guy that had came by and smoked meth with them the day prior. And they spent the night with Craig and his family that night. The first night, the same day that she was reporting missing, the sheriff's department searched out in the woods behind the trailer park until nightfall without ever finding any sign of Kaliyah. The next morning, Craig said he wanted to go help find baby Kaliyah, but he said that Chris and Courtney, they didn't seem to be all that interested. They start heading towards the trailer park. Chris and Courtney decide that they want to be dropped off at the home of Pamela Hamby. Courtney audibly says that she needs to go get high. So Craig did just that. He dropped them off at Pamela's so that they could go get high. They spent a few hours there, apparently smoking, before they all loaded up into Pamela Hamby's car and then proceeded to head towards the trailer park here. They pulled up to this red light right here when Courtney got the call. Baby Kaliyah has been found, and it's not good. They found her wrapped in a blanket and stuffed in a backpack, laying in the woods off the side of the road, right near Henderson Mill Road. Here. Well, Courtney burst out into tears. Then suddenly, Courtney's aunt, who's on the phone, hears Pamela Hamby yell out to Chris, "Get out of the car and run," which he does. Chris runs into this Marathon gas station here. He walks in, he starts yelling at the cashier. I didn't kill my baby. I did not kill my baby. They got me effed up. I didn't kill my baby. That was my child. He leaves the gas station, and they're not exactly sure where he went from that point. But Courtney and Pam continued on to the trailer park where detectives were waiting. Now, because Kaliyah's remains were found out in the woods where Chris had been that morning, they immediately asked Courtney where he's at. She tells them that he jumped out of the car right before they got here when they found out they found her body. Obviously, detectives suspected him, and that's very suspicious behavior. You know, if you had nothing to do with your child's disappearance, you're not going to get out of the car and run. You want to get there. That's all you want to do is get there. So the manhunt was on. The Newton County Sheriff's Office went immediately from searching for baby Kaliyah to searching for Christopher McNabb. He was able to hide from him for a couple of hours, but they ultimately found him right up here by this Shell gas station, a little bit closer to the trailer park. McNabb was nabbed then by the sheriffs and arrested on a probation violation. The day before, when he was there being interviewed, he admitted to smoking meth, which was a violation of his probation that he was on. They suspected him, so they had the probation officer revoke that probation so that they could detain him once they needed to, or if they needed to. So they arrested him, they took him back to the sheriff's department, and it was time for an interrogation, not an interview. They were going to interrogate him this time. He completely denied any wrongdoing in the case at all. But because, he was arrested for the probation violation, they took him on to jail. It was a couple of weeks later that they officially charged him with Kaliyah's death.
You have been charged in warrant 17 NGW 1955 through 1958 with the following felony offenses: aggravated battery, concealing the death of another, malice murder, and felony murder.
But baby Kaliyah, oh man, oh gosh. All right, caution here. If you're not familiar with this story, baby Kaliyah, as I said earlier, was found right here in the woods. She was just thrown out. She was wrapped in her blanket and then put inside of Christopher McNabb's is a backpack. It's just one of those thin backpacks. It's got like drawstrings on it, and it was like a Nike brand drawstring book bag. That's pretty much what it was. Her skull had been bashed in so hard that the side of her head was caved in, and the autopsy showed that she had been hit so many times in the head that she was a newborn, so she didn't have baby teeth like protruding in her mouth yet, but she did have baby teeth. They were just up in her gums, but she had been hit in the head so many times that those baby teeth had broken through her gums, and they were like broken into pieces, and they were sticking out in all different angles. Oh my gosh, it is horrible. It's unfathomable. It makes me just want to cry thinking about it. I don't get how you could do that. I really don't. At trial, prosecutors theorized that Christopher McNabb was so high on meth that night, the baby woke up and started crying. He couldn't get her to stop crying, and because he was so high on meth, it caused him to react with violence. Once he had killed her, he picked her up, dropped her down in his Nike bag, carried her back here down this power line path, and then he returned home and he laid down in the bed. He probably never went to sleep. He just laid there until Courtney woke up to seem as if he had been in bed. I've already discussed everything that's happened after that. My gosh. Christopher McNabb was convicted for her murder. even though he denies it, he was convicted. He is currently in prison serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. A couple of months after Kaliyah's death, but before the trials, they came back and they arrested Courtney Bell.
Count 1, murder in the second degree. Count 2, cruelty to children in the second degree. And count 3, contributing to the deprivation of a minor felony.
She and Christopher went on trial at the same time. They had a joint trial. Courtney was found guilty, not of directly murdering her child, but she was convicted of second-degree child cruelty and contributing to the dependency of a minor.
I didn't do this.
Stand up.
Y'all know I didn't do this.
The judge said in her sentencing that her actions directly attributed to her daughter's death, that she kept an environment that resulted in her daughter's death, the filthy home that was always disgusting, all of the drug use, and the fact that she put Christopher McNabb on a pedestal up above her children. Courtney was sentenced to 30 years, 15 of them in prison, and then 15 years on probation. Both of them, Christopher McNabb and Courtney Bell, they both still to this day claim their innocence. They both have filed for an appeal in their convictions. Well, Chris, even at his trial, he said this at his sentencing.
You have 4 years to file what is known as a writ of habeas corpus to claim your attorney at trial was ineffective or did not do a good job.
I won't be filing anything against my attorney.
That's fine.
Well, that was a lie because he has now filed that writ of habeas corpus, all in an attempt to try to get a new trial to, I guess he figures it'll come out differently if he gets a new trial. I don't know. But he said he wasn't going to file anything against his lawyers, and then he turned around and did the exact opposite of that. Courtney's father, Tim Bell, currently, and probably from now on, he has custody of the toddler, Clarissa. Because she's only serving 15 years in prison, Courtney Bell will get out of jail one day. But 15 years down the road, Clarissa will be 17. Clarissa will be almost an adult, able to move out on her own by that time. This is it's just horrible, absolutely horrible. That's it for this story. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.